Hello guys, the case study I decided to do describes and highlights the behavior and work ethic a student athlete must display in order to have success not only on the field but also in the classroom and her teaching profession. I decided to do this study because my major is sports management, and as seen throughout the case study, sports management also requires a solid foundation of organizational skills, time management, and commitment in order to succeed. So the main problem discussed in this article is that there is a perceived notion that the lack of available time student athletes have due to their commitment to the sport they play, that it has an effect and translates to their schoolwork and other parts of their life. So the author of this, who is Joanne Caniglia, wrote this, did a research on these findings, and the results were mixed. She said it has an effect on your academic motivation, ability to learn and progress in the classroom, but that it also brings increased energy, less bad behavior, and more self-efficiency, motivation, and enjoyment. For myself, I tend to agree with her. I play golf, had golf every day after school from 4 to 7, sometimes even longer. And although it's not on the same level as a college athlete, it did have an effect on how I studied and how I handled my classwork and other things going on in my life. So there's that. But the main focus of this was to highlight one person in particular. Her name was Maria. She was a Division I soccer player, had a 3.99 GPA, was a math tutor for high school students, and also was a president of an athletic advisory club. So she was obviously very busy. But along with describing how she handled all that, it also shows how her commitment on the field and in the classroom translated to her teaching and how she handled her students and other things like that. Exhibit A was with her time management. She had a bunch of things going on, such as she would always keep a journal of her progression throughout college. And the first thing in her journal was about time management and how she handled all that. So as a soccer player, there's a lot going on. She prioritized things as family first, school second, and then soccer third. So if her family ever attended a game, they would be her main priority. She would always involve them with what she was doing and other things like that. And then she would leave the schoolwork with in between practice sessions and also on the plane or bus ride home. So she had a lot going on, but in the classroom, it was shown through her teaching of her students. She would make sure her lesson planning of the last day connected to her lesson plan today so that the students would have an easier transition. The next focus of the case study provided an in-depth look on how Maria would set goals for herself so that she could remain focused and have something to strive for. So some of the goals her senior year were to make the playoffs while also winning her conference. But more importantly, she wanted to remain focused in her schoolwork and be on top of her studies. She also set forward goals in her teaching career. She wanted to make sure her plans coincided with each other from one day to the next, and also make sure our students were comfortable discussing and making connections with what they were taught that day. So as you can see through the case study the correlation between Maria's skills and values both on and off the court. The next thing the case study looks at is how team cohesiveness plays a role in student athletes' ability. In this case, Maria's both on the soccer field and teaching her students. So the example she used in her journal was her team had a fundraiser for cystic fibrosis, which is, I think, a brother of a player had, and how they raised over $2,000 that weekend. She stated that she found it important to give back to the community and support a good cause because she had been impacted by so many people in her life, which kind of connects back to the beginning of the mixed results athletes have outside of their sport, because some of them don't have the support system needed to push and encourage them to focus more on their studies than their individual sport. But back to team cohesiveness, Maria also displayed it through her interactions with her students. Her caring attitude on the field was also displayed off the field in the classroom. For example, if a student had a problem reading, she would read out the problem orally. Or if a student learned better visually, she would take the word problems and turn them into diagrams and other things like that. The last thing the case study touched upon was Maria's problem-solving skills and how having that skill set is very important for student athletes. One thing in particular was her scheduling. She had a lot going on, so it was important for her to make sure she had each time for different aspects of her life. So in particular, it said one Saturday she had a concert all day, and she had to find time to manage her studies and have soccer the next day. So it was important for her to reschedule appropriately. But another thing shown is in her classroom, her students, she wanted to make sure she incorporated this skill set for them.